Coming up next on this edition of In the City. Construction of sidewalks on Mercury Boulevard and the soon-to-be named Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard are underway. Also, United Way's Stuff the Bus event helps kids have a successful start to the new school year. Plus, the Murfreesboro Stormwater Department explains how the dry season is a good time to detect illicit discharges in our waterways. And a group of female African-American softball players reunite after over 50 years. We'll tell you all about those stories and more coming up right now on this edition of In the City. Welcome to another edition of In the City, your source for what's happening right here in the city of Murfreesboro. I'm Michael Linn White. Mercury Boulevard is a highly traveled road with lots of pedestrian movements, and the city is improving the area with the addition of sidewalks.
In 2017, the city of Murfreesboro applied for a federal grant that filters through the Tennessee Department of Transportation called Dept, Transportation Alternatives Program. The money goes to local governments for alternate transportation such as sidewalks and bike trails. The city received a little over $1 million, mainly because of city resident Dick Baines. He explained the need for sidewalks on Mercury Boulevard, soon to be changed to Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard. I talked to him back in 2017.
This area to me is evolved into something that's underrepresented. When the city started the open mic program, I got involved in that. I was the first one to speak. I was glad to be able to do it, and it's a great program, and it's got great results. And this Mercury Boulevard sidewalk project is one of them. I brought that up and pointed out the particular need for this area to have sidewalks and safe crossings, and the city responded, and here we are.
Now everybody says, well, why is it taking so long to get from this point to that point? Well, when you're using federal dollars, you've got to follow the federal process. So there's several steps that you have to follow. And what is interesting on this particular type project is since it's a state route and we're just building sidewalks, we actually had to go through the excess land grant group with TDOT, which means we're putting sidewalks on their right-of-way. So we had to go through that process and get approval. This particular project will be from Broad Street to Middle Tennessee Boulevard, but it will also include pedestrian features at the signals, both signals at Broad Street and at Middle Tennessee Boulevard to help, with crosswalks and things of that nature. The goal is, there's a lot of foot traffic in the area, pretty high traffic count for that area, and our goal is to enhance the safety. We also have, one of our transit bus routes that runs through there that we anticipate it will help enhance that particular ridership. There's several schools in the area, as well as connecting shopping centers and things of that nature.
The city also received another TAP grant for a Phase 2 project on Mercury Boulevard to continue the sidewalks from Middle Tennessee Boulevard to Minerva Drive. The city hopes to start Phase 2 within a year.
Once both of these projects are completed, we'll have nice pedestrian access from Broad Street all the way to Minerva, connecting all the schools, the housing authority with some retail and actually, Walgreens and other things are in that area. We're trying to respect school out there as well, so our inspectors are aware of that. So we're trying to minimize the impact that we have on school traffic. The main thing is we're trying to provide safety for the area. There's a lot of pedestrians out there. There's a lot of movements, specifically crossing the roadway and walking down the ditch line. So we're really trying to enhance the safety in that area.
The annual Stuff the Bus initiative gathers and sends out donated school supplies to Murfreesboro City, Rutherford, and Cannon County schools. For several weeks now, businesses all around Murfreesboro have been collecting school supplies for kids going back to school for United Way's annual Stuff the Bus initiative.
This is such a critical event that we do every year, and United Way's partnership with us is just so important because what it does is it makes sure that every child is ready to learn on day one, that when they walk into that school building, they're not worried about what they don't have. They have the materials, they have the supplies, they have that new pack of crayons, that new unsharpened pencil ready to be used and ready to learn.
At Hobgood Elementary, volunteers gathered all donated items that will then be sent by UPS to Murfreesboro City, Rutherford, and Cannon County schools. UPS partners every year with United Way to donate their time and resources to this event.
We sort, organize those supplies, stuff the backpacks, and now they're being stuffed into the UPS truck behind me to go to those school districts in Rutherford and Cannon counties.
These supplies are critical for students to have a successful start to the school year. Flippin says this wouldn't be possible without the generous help from the entire community.
We start school in just a week, and so our kids are going to be excited to have these school supplies ready to use on day one.
We learned more about the Murfreesboro Stormwater Department's illicit discharge detection, trying to keep our streams and rivers clear of substances that don't belong there.
During the summer, when it's drier than other times of the year, it's a good time for Murfreesboro's Stormwater Department to screen, or other word, investigate, illicit flows into streams and rivers. Illicit flows are anything other than stormwater.
I think a lot of people, when they think about stormwater, they think about when rain events happen, and that's a good time to screen our drainage system. But a really good time is during the dry times, and we pick that time to try to find illicit flows. You know, we find flow occasionally. It could be someone's draining their pool. Normally when you're draining a pool, you need to dechlorinate the water. This time of year, AC condensation is a big culprit for flow. And then water leaks. We found a couple of water leaks, and then we refer it to our operation and maintenance to go out and investigate. There's 3 different dry weather screening that we do. There's river outfall screening, so that's basically where we're screening all the inputs into the river called outfalls from the drainage network. We're standing here at an inlet, and this one is really close to the creek, so it's pretty obvious where it goes because the creek's right here next to us. But you can imagine if this inlet here was several blocks away from the creek, and let's say there's some kind of chemical spill. We were able to identify where in the creek this goes so we can go mitigate, track it down. So that's why we keep a good mapping system. The state wants us to keep a good mapping system. We do a spot check. We've got most of our drainage system mapped. So we'll just pick a place on the map and go screen it, see if there's any flow during the dry time.
We can't see into the pipes really, but we can see into the catch basins. We can say take a 1/4 mile grid and we can go to the low points in that grid and look at into the catch basins and see, is there water flowing here? And if it's not raining, dry weather, there shouldn't be any water in the storm sewer system. If we find water there, we test it for a few parameters to see what we can find out about it, and then if it's potentially illicit, we start to try to track down the source.
And then we have what's called hotspots, and that's places that may be commercial, automotive, industrial.
It can be a type of activity or industry, heavy commercial or industrial, that is kind of just historically likely to generate illicit discharges.
All right, so we're in Overall Creek, and obviously not all of our creeks look this way. This creek is kind of special. It goes underground. It makes it really easy to do this type of dry weather screening. Obviously, if you have flow coming into the creek, then we probably need to go investigate it. You can see here our drainage system is mapped. And so while it may be hard to visually see where a stormwater channel is coming in, we can walk along here and screen the outfalls according to the map. Obviously, if there's something flowing here, we probably need to investigate it.
The Soul Sisters Scales and Sons Female Softball League from the 1960s reunite for the first time since they stopped playing in 1982. The Soul Sisters Scales and Sons softball team of Murfreesboro celebrates their 56-year team celebration.
We're going to talk about a little history today. We're going to have some fun, talk about some things that went on when we played, and fellowship together.
In the early 1960s, a group of African-American girls set out to make history.
We began with fast pitch. We didn't begin with slow pitch. And then in 1963, we moved from Christiana to Murfreesboro. And in 1965, we became an organized team.
There weren't many resources for a group of young African-American females in the early 60s, but through the help of sponsors and their coaches, these young women worked hard and won games.
Back when I started playing, we didn't have sponsors, so Daddy Gray, my daddy, they came out of their pockets to make sure we ate, to make sure we had our uniforms, to help out people that didn't have school stuff. I mean, the coaches, Daddy Gray and my daddy, Mr. Grant Daniels, they did a lot for the community. If children didn't have, they would give to them.
Johnson says because her dad was the coach, she really didn't have much choice of whether or not to play.
Softball kept us out of trouble. It kept us focused on something. And not only did we play, we were required to be good.
And they were good, even winning the 1972 Tennessee State Championship in Chattanooga. In spite of dealing with racial tensions, these women held their heads high and played hard.
We go to Chattanooga or Cooksville, Sparta. You know, we got called names, and but our dad, he just told us we keep playing. We didn't feed into none of the negativity, and we just went out and beat people.
Councilman Kurt Wade joined the celebration to read a proclamation from Mayor Shane McFarland, officially declaring the event Soul Sisters Scales and Sons Women's Softball Day in Murfreesboro, finally giving these women and their coaches the recognition they deserve. Organizer Sheila Daniels Johnson gets emotional talking about just how special it is to have all of the players together after all these years.
We're like family, and we've never got together, and I'm just a little overwhelmed. My dad is gone, my sister is gone, and we're going to release balloons in their honor, and we're going to call out their names. And I'm just overwhelmed at this point for the turnout that we had.
The Soul Sisters reunion was a success, and as they look back on fond memories, they realize they had the most important thing, each other.
We didn't have much, but we seemed to have everything we needed.
Murfreesboro City Schools Director Trey Duke addresses a recent City Council workshop meeting to discuss the 2021-22 school year.
This is our vision in Murfreesboro City School. This is what we're looking at, right? Students in the center of everything we're doing. So what's really important to me is that we're always keeping touch with what's happening in our buildings and in our classroom, because obviously that's what we're looking at. And as we go through this next year, where we're continuing to deal with the pandemic, we're continuing to deal with the impact the pandemic has had on the last year and a half of our students, that we continue to address those needs and be focused on that success. So right now, as of yesterday, we were at 9,231 students. So that's about a 2.5% increase from last year. You can see we actually projected to be about 9,400, and we have not hit that. So we're about 226 below our projection. I will point out our large, fastest growing schools. Of course, Salem right now, our newest school, is currently our largest school in the district with 1,076 students. That's an increase of 142 from last year. Overall Creek, of course, our second newest school, is sitting at almost to 1,000 students. They're also seeing an increase. Scales is actually our third largest school, seeing a slight decrease. And then Irma Siegel is another school, a larger school that we're seeing some growth at as well. So I will share this with you as well. These are the lots currently available from the last report. So as we look at it, we continue to see, as what we're looking at is specifically Salem overall is where we also have the most open lots available in the city. And we're also looking at the permits that have been issued. In the last 3 months, overall has had 83 single-family dwelling permits issued. and Salem a little over 130. So again, that west side continues to be the area that we're watching really closely, because obviously when we look at Salem, when we look at overall, that's addressed. We're going to have to address those concerns immediately. The 2021 Tennessee State test data came out 2 weeks ago. We know we expected to see some decreases in student achievement because of the pandemic. Because we knew that, as a district team, we worked really hard to respond to that before we ever saw the data. So we did a summer school this year. We have it again next year. 1,600 kids went through our summer school program. You'll see a huge push, and the community will hear a huge push about after school and before school tutoring. We have a lot of supports for teachers in place, specifically around professional development, to address these concerns, but also our social and emotional needs. This is the state data, and you can see the top is English language arts and the bottom is math. And you can see that proficiency band, which is the percentage of students who have tested proficient on that assessment. And then the decrease is the decrease from 2019, which was the last time we took the assessment. The trends are very clear for us, that because we were in school all year last year, because of the Herculean efforts of our teachers and our administrators, we feel very, very confident our trends are going to say MCS is outperforming the state, and the losses we did see were not nearly as significant as what the state saw. So we're excited, and we're proud of the teachers for the hard work. We've laid out 5 district priorities, which has become kind of our guiding focus. Our first priority, which is extremely important to me, and I tell people, as I've told every teacher in our district, I will say this priority loud, I will say it proud, and I will say it unapologetically, is that we are going to continue to address reading and language arts scores. That's something we have to do in this state, and it's something I am very passionate about right here in Murfreesboro City, that we are continuing to make sure our students are reading on grade level as quickly as possible, because we know ACT success, post-secondary success, that all hinges on what happens in those elementary grades, specifically around reading. Math has been a huge, really pride point for us in Murfreesboro City. 2 years ago, if you remember, 75% of our schools were state reward schools. That was largely due to the fact that we had such high math scores. We're going to continue to support the needs of the whole child, which has been a mission for us. That really is those social and emotional supports that we put in place specifically to address the achievement gap. Our fourth one is around our teachers and our staff. Our goal is to recruit, retain, and train highly effective and culturally competent educators and employees to maximize student outcomes. And then our fifth goal is around science, and specifically, again, another pride point of Murfreesboro City. We have 5 of our 13 schools designated as STEM schools. We want to continue to grow that. In our 5-year plan, you'll see one of the things we talk about is at the end of that 5 years having all 13 of our schools with that STEM designation. We have a saying in Murfreesboro City, known, safe, challenged, and empowered. That's what we want. We want our kids to feel known, our teachers to feel known, safe, challenged, and empowered, even amidst the challenges that we're going to face coming up through this year.
Free Comic Book Day at Linebaugh Library was a success, with over 400 people receiving free comics and participating in games and more.
Free Comic Book Day is back at Linebaugh Library. It's usually on May 4th, but this year the worldwide event was held on August 14th, and all Rutherford County Library branches participated.
We're giving away free comic books all day long until we run out. We had prizes that we gave away. We're running movies all day, and we've got activities you can probably hear going on right now.
Free Comic Book Day is a pro-literacy event. It helps local comic stores get more business, and it's a day for kids to get out and have some fun.
I know it's the first time that some kids get a comic book, and for some kids, it's the first time they get a book.
This event has been around for 20 years, but libraries being involved is fairly new. Linebaugh staff is thrilled at the turnout of over 400 people.
Because it's the library, you don't have to tell your kids not to touch anything. You don't have to buy anything. We don't care how long you stay. So we're here to give you free things and open up opportunities, and people can hang out and be here as long as they want.
This event wasn't just about giving away free books. There were games, portrait drawings, and prizes.
We had a lot of prizes that we gave away this year. They were fantastic, and we would not have been able to do that without the help of local businesses.
For all things happening at our libraries, visit rclstn.org. For CityTV, Michael Linn White.
There's a great new program starting in the Parks and Recreation Department that offers the opportunity for adults to learn more about nature.
The city of Murfreesboro is so lucky to have the Wilderness Station. It's a nature center, gift shop, and rental facility located in Barfield Crescent Park. It's also the headquarters of Outdoor Murfreesboro, a department of Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation that specializes in environmental education and outdoor recreation.
Here at the Wilderness Station at Barfield Park, kind of in the back, nestled here back in the woods, we offer outdoor programming, science education, some homeschool classes for people of all ages, from kindergarten through 12th grade, and a lot of adult education for people our age. This past summer, we had a full 8 weeks of summer camps here that we were able to offer. Several of those weeks we doubled up and had 2 camps a week.
Just recently, Barfield Crescent Park expanded to include the 70-acre Oakwood Farm parcel in the southwest area. It will serve as a hub for the Natural Resource Division and expand programming.
And that's going to put us a little bit over 400 acres when it's all said and done with, which is, in my opinion, just a jewel to have here in the middle of Murfreesboro to allow people to come out and enjoy the outdoors. We definitely would love to have the green space and leave as much of it untouched as we can, just like we enjoy here at the park we have now. But we'll also do some programs out there, and we'll get people out there to enjoy that just like they've enjoyed this.
The Wilderness Station just became one of 11 chapters of the Tennessee Naturalist Program, which teaches adults natural history education. Natural Resource Manager Kristen Hopkins addresses the Parks and Recreation Commission on this new program.
What we want to do is we want to create a chapter at the Wilderness Station and provide this 11-class course over several months to adults.
It is a huge deal to me. Coming from, I was born and raised here in this area. I moved to South Carolina and I did a naturalist program through Clemson University. We've had this program here in the state of Tennessee since 2010. Our first chapter was at Owls Hill, which is in Brentwood. The last one that we've created is right here at the Wilderness Station, Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation. It is a great opportunity for people past their college days, if they get that hair and they want to go back and study a little bit more about the outdoors and they missed out on something, or maybe they're just older now and they have a better respect for the outdoors than they used to. It's an excellent program for those people. Some of the programs we offer: ecology, geology, reptiles and amphibians. We offer bird classes, ornithology classes, fossil classes. The classes are broke down to where there's a lecture section and a lab section. We'll have several of those programs this fall. We'll take a winter break and then we'll finish it up in the springtime. Go to our website, Tennessee Naturalist Program, sign on, click on the Murfreesboro Parks chapter and sign up for the program. We'd love to have you. Grab it while you can. I think it's a great opportunity.
Mark your calendars for the opportunity to meet local artists from our community at Bradley Academy Museum and Cultural Center.
Authors Night is going to be an experience for these authors around in the area to come through about 4 times a year. We're looking for ages from anywhere from teenagers up to adults, and you can just spend time with different people in the community and explain just different things about your book. When you first walk in, of course, we'll give you a bookmark and it will have all the dates and some of the various information on what we have pertaining to Authors Night and pertaining to some of the other events that we do have here at Bradley. And you will also find the authors, and the authors will have a room for themselves, and in that room they'll be able to sit down with you one-on-one, have a photo op, get to know the author on a one-on-one basis, and just kind of share their experience on how they wrote their books, what type of information they have, what type of books they have, what, I guess, demographic area We've had kids books, we've had thrillers, biographies, just all kind of exciting books that I think the community really need to hear about, and about these wonderful authors who have spent their time and years of preparing to bring out either their life stories or their experience or adventures. Also in one of our classrooms, in one of our last authors night, we had a movie, some information, backdrop for your photo scenes, and just some general information that the author wanted to share with you about the process of writing the book. This event is a free event and anyone can come, and we would definitely love to have you come. Our next one will be on October the 7th, starting at 5:30. And if you're interested even in coming to be one of the authors, please give us a call at 615-962-8773. Or you can also go and look on the website, or you may go on Facebook.
Mayor McFarland recently hosted a mayor briefing with two Ascension St. Thomas Hospital representatives, President and CEO Gordon Ferguson and Chief of Staff David Sellers. The topic, COVID-19. Here are some highlights.
And so in the, I guess beginning in July, we started to see our numbers of positive patients increase. And we actually were noticing that it was a younger population of patients that were coming through our ER. And so again, as I think we've heard through various media outlets, hospitals across the country are really been inundated with a good number of COVID patients. About 95% of the patients that we have in our hospital have not been vaccinated. So there's a very clear differentiation there between those that have been vaccinated and those that have not.
So these numbers were taken from websites from the Massachusetts and Tennessee health departments, and we use a comparison to Massachusetts because our populations are similar. Massachusetts, 70% of their residents received at least one shot at this point in time, where 47% of the Tennessee residents received one shot. For COVID hospitalizations, Massachusetts 402, Tennessee 2,336, 6 times higher. For ICU patients, Massachusetts 82, Tennessee 708, 8.5 times higher. And for COVID ventilator patients, 38 in Massachusetts and 519 in Tennessee, 13.5 times higher. So I think that when I saw these numbers, it just was very apparent to me that the vaccinations do help tremendously. Yeah. And I really just wanted people to know those numbers.
Through a federal parkland conversion process, the city of Murfreesboro has added Oakwood Farm to Barfield Crescent Park, which is 70 acres to the southern border. With the purchase of Oakwood Farm, Barfield Crescent Park's existing 405 acres will be expanded to be 475 acres. The property has woodland areas, open fields, ponds, streams, and wetlands. The western property boundary is along the west fork of the Stones River, allowing the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department to develop hiking trails to connect with the existing trail system at Barfield Crescent Park and use the site for outdoor recreation programs. It will include a natural landscape for the recreational benefit of residents. It will serve as a hub for Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department's Natural Resources Division and provide for expansion of outdoor Murfreesboro programming. Time to clear out your garage and bring your items to Rutherford County's Hazardous Waste Collection. Saturday, November 6th from 8 a.m. to noon at Murfreesboro's mulch facility at 4765 Florence Road. A list of items they will and will not be accepting is on Rutherford County's solid waste website. Well, that's it for this edition of In the City. As always, for more information about the city of Murfreesboro or any of the stories you've seen here, you can always visit our website at www.murfreesborotn.gov. And if you want to see any of the stories that you've seen today or catch up on some of the latest city news, you can always visit the City of Murfreesboro's YouTube channel. I'm Michael Linn White, and until next time, we look forward to seeing you in the city.